Hi everyone, welcome back, and we're carrying on with the TAC-41 build. You'll have seen from the previous video we were taking a look at the new TAC-41 LS. Now this has a ridiculously long barrel because it comes off the polymer variant of this rifle. I'm pretty sure the normal LS has a slightly shorter barrel. But to get this rectified, we're going to be doing a little bit of modification today, because my idea is to do like they do a short barrel for this, and then just do like a big suppressor, kind of making it a little bit like, you know, is it a DB10 or DBL10? Is that Russian bolt action rifle? So short build, big suppressor. That's the look I'm going for. You guys understand I like that stuff all too well. So we can pull the outer barrel section off here by loosening the bolts, and we can set this to one side. The optic, because I dare say there's going to be people out there that want to know what this is, even though it's nothing special. This is a Vector Optics Veyron. Not too, I mean, it wasn't cheap for what it is. I'm not super impressed with it, but it's an extra scope in the inventory, and you know, if I need one, I've got one spare. So we'll put that one to one side. So what we're going to be looking at straight away is we've got the short barrel. I'm just trying to stand this rifle up, failing. So I've bought a couple of bits. We're only doing about 1.5 joules, so I picked up the 120 Newton meter spring. I think on this setup it's meant to give it about 2.4 joules, 2.3 joules, and I am going to be shortening the barrel a bit, so there's a bit of leeway there. Picked up the TAC-41 barrel base, and then I also picked up the Silverback carbon dummy suppressor. This is the extra large version, not the XXL. 24x1 clockwise is the thread for the TAC-41. So I'll pull this open here, and the barrel base is, you know, what it says on the tin, a barrel base. And we also have, if I can pull this out, a beautiful Silverback suppressor, which is carbon fibre. I'm pretty sure this rear piece is fixed in place, and then the front pieces, I think they're like a two-piece design that has like an O-ring, and basically you tighten up these bolts and it sort of expands the O-ring out to hold the cap on, and what that does do is it makes the suppressor serviceable, and enables you to put like foam or stuff in if you're able to do so. So we just loosen those screws up. Might have to do them a little bit more, like so. There's 5 of them. Just keep loosening them up round till they come nice and loose, and then we should be able to pull this off. So you'll see there's 2 aluminium pieces. You've got this huge O-ring, and what happens is when you tighten the bolts up, this pushes down, squashes the O-ring, and that's what grabs on the suppressor. Now I do have in here, it looks like some barrel spacers. So let's pull these out here. It's good that it comes with barrel spacers, because I was thinking I'm going to have to like print some or machine some up. Not sure if it has foaming. I do feel something soft, so yeah, it does look like I have a bit of foam in there. Can I get this out? That's great to begin with, because if I don't get time to make some baffles for this, I've got something pretty much ready to go if I can get them out here. How many do we get? I don't think we get mounds, not enough to fill the suppressor entirely. Struggling to get them out because they're quite far in there. So keep pulling these little foam pieces out. There's actually quite a few in here. That's nice. I expected it to be empty. Can I get the last one? Trying to get this thing out of here. Gonna need a tool. There we go. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the the thinner diameter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the slightly wider diameter. There we go. And then of course we have some barrel spacers. So it actually tells you the size on these. So they're 37mm, I believe. And we can use those to secure the barrel in place when we fit it, and then I'll put the foam at the end. So it saves me a bit of time because I haven't got to make these bits and pieces and measure them up and get them made. We can just crack on getting this thing built. So before we get started, let's pull all these bits out to one side. Got the spring there, we'll do that as well. So pulling the hop unit out, we have a countersunk screw on the bottom here. I think that's going to be a 2.5. Yep. So we can unscrew that. And the TAC-41 LS, they have, and the other models I presume, with the new blue hop unit. I believe it's a blue hop unit. I'll have to check that in a moment. They've got shims that you use in the hop, and basically what you can do is you can set up like a pre-engagement on the nub. So what that means is, if I think out the box they struggle to hop like heavy BBs, but what you can do is remove the shims. That will give you more hop adjustment, or it'll put preload on the hop nub, and that will help you use heavy BBs. So we've got 2.5mm countersunk screw on the bottom. Use a 3mm for the one on the top. We can pull this screw off here. You'll see one of the shims on the screw there. So there's one on the screw, which goes above the hop wheel. And then what we have is we have an O-ring and we have a shim on the bottom, like that. We can pull the nub out if it wants to come out. It's not super imperative, but what we'll do, we'll get this pushed out of the outer barrel. And we just do that by pushing the barrel from the opposite side without knocking everything off the bench. And that will give you enough to sort of push the hop unit. And then we can wiggle it loose. Spring pops across the room. I did forget about that, to be honest. And then we do have a barrel spacer just in the end, which we're not really going to have to worry about. Let me just relocate the BB stopper, which I think jumped over here. There's the BB stopper. I think I do have spares of these parts, so it's not super bad news. Where'd that spring go? There it is. So we have the BB stopper there, we have the spring, and then we have the little piece that sits on there like that. Just be super careful about that. I just forgot. I mean, I should know the amount of times I took my other TAC-41 apart. Just cover it with something like your hand or a cloth to capture it when you're pushing it out. Can we... I'm not going to be using this barrel because it's, you know, far too long. The nub doesn't want to come out here. But this is the new hop unit they've done. It's a clamshell, much like the MDRX hop up, with this nice blue plastic. And, you know, this is different to their aluminium hop, but to be honest with you, I much prefer this, because the problem with the TAC-41, the normal TAC-41s with the aluminium hop, is every time you wanted to take your barrel out, you had to slide it out from the, you know, the front, and every time you took your barrel and hot rubber out, you would actually destroy the hot rubber. So you're forever, if you're making changes, you're forever replacing hot rubbers. So we won't have to do that now. Is this a 2.5mm? Should be. Yep, there we go. Now one thing you have to pay attention with these, they've got these little captivating nuts here. Just make sure you don't lose them. So you've got one under each of the 4 securing bolts or screws. So you've got 4 of these. This is very similar to, I don't know if you remember the Aries Striker hop. It was like a 2-piece. Very much like this. Not as well built as this, I might add. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then you're going to have 2 nuts, one on the top and the bottom, one for the securing the hop wheel screw, and then the other one for the countersunk screw which secures it to the outer barrel. So we can pull this off here. We'll just set that down nice and lightly so we can do this without losing the nuts, like so. So you've got a square one which goes into the bottom, and then you've got like a hex nut which goes into the top, and then you've got your little nub there which is just staying in place nicely. I don't have to worry about that. Your barrels are usually AEG type barrels. If I can pull this off here, and what happens is with the old aluminium hop units was as you'd pull it, the hop rubber would grip the hop unit, and then because you're not getting that sort of where the nub can go over the back of the bridge barrel, because that was held in place by the hop unit, pulling this out, this would just rip the sort of mound section off the hop rubber. They're not expensive hop rubbers. Silverback does do it slightly differently to everybody else, so it's not like you can fit any AEG hop rubber without any complications. And we need to find a barrel for this thing. Have we got anything that might be able to be used? I do have a Sonic Mechanics barrel there, but that's for the GBB style hop. Dropping barrels everywhere. This one might work, but it is probably a little bit too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this in place without the hot rubber. In fact, no, let's put the hot rubber on, and I can kind of get an idea. I think this is a TNT barrel. So again, some of them might not fit properly. This one looks like it might be one of those barrels that doesn't want to pinch in quite right. But you know, we can get, you know, for demonstration purposes, I think it'll be absolutely fine. I'm not going to screw this together. I'm just going to use it to place the hop up in like that, and then we can kind of gauge where it's going to be. So we'll sit that on there like that. How much of the suppressor can we use? So I think that, to be honest, that's probably about right. We're obviously not going to get much power on this, so I think we'll give it a go, and I can always switch the inner barrel out for anything that I might need. For demonstration purposes of getting it through to you guys, I think it's going to be perfectly adequate, so we'll just leave this in for the time being. So that goes in there, that goes on. Be interesting to see what kind of compression we get on this barrel. And then we take the little square nuts, they go into the slots like so. Might not always want to sit perfectly, so you'll have to use like a little tool just to nudge them in place like that. And then I'm just going to loosely, because the nuts are going to want to fall out as you do this. I'm just going to do it. Oh, it's done it already. So I might struggle here a little bit. Let's pop the nut in there. Right, that one's fell out of place. Let's do the front one first. You just need it to grab like that, and it will hold it in place. Just take your time with it, get them aligned. Probably going to be easy for you if you let the nuts sit in the hop unit like that, and then just get the screw on your Allen key. Just hardly putting up any pressure at all, just so the threads start to grab it. And we should be on the way to getting this assembled. This is not really going to be designed to be like an Uber sniper. I have my other TAC-41 for that, I have had a fair few issues with that rifle. This is just going to be like a secondary rifle to carry. which is why I've put it in the light stock. I do think I'm going to have a bit of an issue. The weird thing is, like, Silverback sell you that barrel base. So that's a TAC-41 barrel base. You think they would have done all the testing to make sure these bits are going to fit the light version of the TAC-41. But I have an inkling we're going to run into an issue, but we'll discover that together. So that's all in. We can put in the little roller stopper for the hot wheel, like that. We need the BB stopper in there. That has a couple of arrows on to show you which way it goes forwards and backwards. And I've just thrown it across the workbench again. You do have to be careful with this thing. Grab it, there we go. So BB stopper in. I think what's probably best to do is slide this in most of the way. Put the spring in. Take the top part, put that in, hold it down with your thumb and let it catch on the barrel like that. You can slide this into position. I'm just going to hold that little clicker wheel thing in place, line up that screw or the mounting hole with a 2.5mm Allen key. I'm going to screw this in. We don't really need to torque this down all that much. We'll put the washers back in for now. We'll get into a video of itself for that and how we're going to be running it and such. So I'll put that back in. And we need the 3mm. To be honest, from this, all we needed was the hop unit and the hot rubber, I suppose. So we can screw this in. And that's going to give us a suppressor barrel. What this does is, it's mainly for aesthetic reasons for this. I might extend the barrel to the full length of the suppressor, which is not something I usually do. If I wanted a bit more suppression space, I would have gone with the XXL suppressor, which is, I think, is another 90mm-ish. This is about 300, I think. Do I have a tape measure? Yes, I do. So the XL suppressor, yeah, I was right, about just under 300mm. I'm sure they say it's 300mm, but that's coming out at 295. And there we go. So we've got space down there. We could use one of the barrel spacers. Push this into position over the barrel. You need to make sure it's centered. Let's use the old suppressor trick again. Like that. That's sat on the front of the barrel, I believe. And we need to give it a poke to get it in place. This is not going to be in shot, I apologise. We might struggle to do this. We'll just leave it there for now. We'll pop some of these baffles in just as a placeholder. Again, I will go back in and set this up how I want it. I think I'm actually going to get most of them in there, not the last one though, because we're going to need space for the plug for the end. We can place that in. We need a 3mm. I would do something like this, like in a star pattern, much like you'd do like with an alloy wheel. So you're always going opposites. Like you're drawing like a 5-pointed star without lifting the pen off the paper. So you'll see top, bottom left, far right, far left, bottom right. We don't need super amounts of pressure on that. And there we have our little barrel setup. How cool is that? I can see through it nice and clearly. I will need to go back in and sort that barrel spacer out. There we go. Right. This is where I think I'm going to lie into an issue. I don't think there's enough clearance here for the suppressor, which of course is not going to be. Why would they make it so it fits, eh? So I'm going to have to trim this out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the rear M-lock slot off. So basically this flat edge I'm going to come up, and probably this flat edge I'm going to come forward, and then just clearance it at the front here. Again, if you mess it up, or if I mess it up, I'll just go and purchase. I think the stocks are like 50 something pound. So let's go get an angry tool. Basically, this is a tool. It's got a little saw blade on it. When you press the trigger, it vibrates backwards and forwards and gives that saw motion. So don't get too angry with me, but here we go. I can always clear this up with a file afterwards. Sorry for the headphone users out there. Spin this round. It's a very good tool if you want to get through plastic. I've used it on like stocks, clearancing them for like batteries and stuff in the past. You will create quite a bit of mess though. We are butchering this TAC-41. Right, it does look rough. We are going to clean this up. I think what I'm going to have to do is round this off to clear it. But the barrel goes on. The reason why I've cut it, yeah, I need a bit of clearance. Bit of clearance on the front there. See how it's slightly going up at an angle. But the reason why I've cut it near the M-lock is just to keep that nice. There's no point having like half an M-lock slot. So let's pull this back off. Right, best way to do this, I think, is going to be trying to follow the lines on this. So to save your ears, I'm just going to cut it and then I'll be right back. Okay, just very roughly cut this out. What I'm going to be doing is, once I know I've got enough to clear the suppressor, I'm just going to go away and use like a rotary Dremel tool to sort of not clear, nice and clear this so it's nice and round. Let's get the barrel base put back on like that. Suppressor, will it go on? Yes, it will. Probably clearanced it a little bit too much. That's no bother. What that will do actually is, what it will mean is, if I'm using the rifle and I lean this on something, there's no way for this to hit the suppressor. But now I've got like, yeah, it's a bit, let's squeeze it into place there. Actually goes further back than I thought. But yeah, see how that clears the suppressor now? And I'll go in, I'll probably round all these edges off, just try and make it look like it's meant to be there. Round the front off so it's got a nice round shape. And we will have our DBL10 at home type thing. It's already tons quieter. Can I pull this off? So the noise that we had before would have been like this. So not insanely loud. And then we put our new suppressed front end on like this. might not sound like it to you guys, but that is like, even with just a tiny bit of suppressor being used, so like this bit here, the sound difference is quite amazing. Let's put a round in so we can test with how this will sound once it's loaded. Right, this might jam. Yeah. So it's not liking that barrel, so I'm going to have to change that barrel out because I imagine it's pinching the feed lips. But we're on our way to having a custom light TAC-41. I'm going to cut the video short there because we're at 27 minutes. Follow along, part 2 will be coming up. When I come back on part 2, I will have cleaned the front of this up so it'll look a little bit more professional. And then I'll try and find out a different barrel so we can put a different barrel in there. And then we'll get moving on to the spring in the cylinder, get that beefed up, and then we'll get some chrono readings and find out what's going on. So thanks very much for tuning into this video. I'll try and edit it down in post as best I can. And as always, from me and Bench, we'll see you in the next video.